Don't freak out. Just dinner with my boss. That was the text Jenna sent me at 6:58 p.m. No explanation. No context. Just that. I stared at the screen for a second, thumb frozen mid-scroll. Then I typed back, "Enjoy." Hit send. Calm on the outside, but inside, every wire was already firing. While you're listening, tell us which country you're watching from. I dropped my phone on the couch and walked straight to the kitchen, opened the junk drawer, and pulled out a USB drive I'd labeled Home Projects. Looked innocent enough. I work in warehouse distribution. Logistics is what I do. I track things, organize systems, know how to move inventory without being noticed. Planning isn't just part of my job. It's my reflex. My name's Carter. I'm 33, live in Columbus, Ohio. Jenna's been my girlfriend for 4 years. She moved into my condo 2 years ago after her lease ran out. At the time, it felt right. She just started her job in sales at some tech startup and needed a home base to focus. Back then, I believed her. But that was before the flashy dresses started showing up. Before she started saying stuff like, "I might be late again. Bryant's riding us hard this week." With a wink like I should be impressed. I'd already noticed the pattern. Bryant, her manager, 40-something, always hovering in her stories. First, it was work lunches. Then it became after-hours campaign planning. One weekend, she said she was visiting her mom in Cincinnati, but I remember the way she paused before she said it. The kind of pause you catch when you've been living with someone long enough to know how they lie. Still, I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I'm not that guy, I gather. That's when I started checking the family desktop more often. She was careless, never cleared her browser tabs. I found one open to her company email, another to a hotel reservation site. Nothing concrete, not then, but enough to keep digging. Tonight, though, was different. Tonight was the first time she'd warned me not to freak out. That told me everything. I clicked into my draft folder and pulled up a chain I'd been building for 2 weeks, screenshots, receipts, timestamps. Already organized, already backed up. If she was going to play me like a fool, she forgot one thing. I plan better than she lies. I popped the drive into my laptop, copied the latest folder over, and named it Bryant Dinner Night. Then I grabbed a beer, turned off the porch light, and sat down at the desk. Let her eat steak. Let her flirt. Let her think I'm clueless. Tonight was the last time she'd underestimate me. I'd first found the emails 2 weeks before all this blew up. It was late, past midnight, and Jenna had gone to bed early claiming she had a big pitch the next morning. She left the family desktop on. I walked past it on my way to grab a water, saw her inbox still open. Curiosity wasn't even the word for it at that point. It was instinct. She'd forwarded a dozen work emails to her personal account, all of them full of itemized reports, spreadsheets listing expenses from the last quarter. I clicked one open. It was like reading a shopping list for a Kardashian. Spa weekends, boutique purchases, 3 dinners in 1 week at a place downtown that charges $30 just to reserve a table. A pair of Louboutin heels listed as client entertainment wardrobe. She doesn't entertain clients. She sells software subscriptions. There was one receipt that made my chest tighten. A weekend booking at a 5-star hotel in Louisville. The exact same weekend she told me she was visiting her mom. She even said they'd been catching up on old family recipes. Right? Must have been from room service. I took screenshots of every email, every receipt, saved them into a folder I labeled Q3 Budget Notes, and moved it onto my personal drive, the one tucked in the back of the closet behind my old Xbox games. She didn't even know that drive existed. It wasn't just her either. Every single outrageous purchase had been signed off by her manager, Bryant. I looked him up. 45, beard, Rolex, picture-perfect corporate douche. I'd met him once, briefly, at a holiday party. He shook my hand like he was checking for weakness. I did more digging. Company website said he was Regional Director of Sales Strategy. Whatever that means. What caught my eye wasn't on his profile, it was in a local lifestyle article from 2 years back. Power couple spotlight. Diana Hale and Bryant Walker. Bryant was married. Not just married, married to Diana Hale, senior partner at Carver and Langston LLP. That's one of the most cutthroat litigation firms in Columbus. I'd heard the name before. They don't just sue people. They bury them. I sat back in my chair, hands resting on the keyboard. He wasn't just reckless. He was stupid. He'd been funding a secret office affair with company money. He'd left a paper trail longer than I-70. And now I knew his wife had the power to turn his entire life into ash. It stopped being about Jenna in that moment. It became about leverage. I spent the next 3 nights building my archive. I searched deleted folders, calendar events, message logs. Jenna had zero operational security. She'd forwarded whole expense forms that literally listed her initials next to items like facial plus couples massage package and Gucci client meatwear. Client, right? I went full forensic mode. File names, folder labels, date-modified timestamps. Anything that could connect her and Bryant with a shared pattern. I even copied down the email headers and IP addresses for every forwarded message. I wasn't just saving receipts. I was building a case. By the time I zipped the files and backed them up to 2 separate locations, I could practically feel the weight of it. I wasn't sure if it was adrenaline or disgust, but I couldn't sleep after that. Every time I looked at her over the next few days, I saw someone I didn't recognize anymore. She'd kiss my cheek, ask if I wanted anything from the store, pretend like she wasn't walking around in $1,000 heels paid for with stolen money. But I didn't confront her. Not yet. You don't interrupt a slow-motion car crash if you're trying to prove who was driving. I needed one final piece to land the whole thing. Something that tied her lies directly to Bryant's mistakes. I got it in the form of a calendar invite. She left her email open again the following Friday, careless as always. There it was, sitting in her inbox. Private strategy dinner. Table reserved. 7 p.m. Confidential. Sent by Bryant. That was the same restaurant from the previous week's receipts. Same day. Same time. I took one last screenshot and copied it to the folder. Bryant was married. Jenna was lying. And the company footing the bill? About to find out. I didn't need proof of cheating anymore. I had proof of fraud. Once I had the calendar invite saved, everything after that felt mechanical. 2 more weeks. That's how long I played it cool. I packed her lunches, asked about her meetings, listened to her complain about deadline stress, and how Bryant was a genius but terrible with boundaries. I nodded in all the right places, smiled when she needed me to. The whole time, that drive sat in my closet, like a loaded gun I never had to touch. The more normal I acted, the bolder she got. She'd get home later, wearing perfume that didn't smell like the one I bought her. New jewelry. Expensive, subtle, the kind you don't buy yourself when you're supposedly saving for a vacation. I didn't say a word, just logged the dates, cross-checked them against the receipts. Every pattern matched. Then came Tuesday night. She came out of the bedroom in a black dress that hugged her like it was tailored yesterday. Hair curled, makeup sharp. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "Campaign meeting. Don't wait up." "Got it," I said like it didn't matter. She smiled, that fake, distracted smile, and kissed my cheek. I smelled her perfume again. Not hers. His. The door closed. I checked the clock. 7:05 p.m. That was when her text came through. "Don't wait up. Might run late." Perfect timing. I sat down at the laptop, opened the email draft I'd been refining for days. The subject line read, "Urgent, potential financial misconduct. Documentation attached." Recipients: HR Director, Finance VP, and the general legal contact for her company. Attachments: 26 screenshots, 3 PDF reports, and a full Excel sheet with expense and approval comparisons. Every file was clean, time-stamped, and organized like a professional audit. I hit send. There was no rush of guilt. No thrill either. Just that same calm I get when a delivery goes exactly where it should. Then I opened the Uber app. I plugged in the restaurant's address, the one from the calendar invite, and set the destination as Carver and Langston LLP, the downtown law firm where Bryant's wife, Diana, worked. Scheduled it for pickup in 15 minutes, paid extra for priority. Then I copied the trip link, pasted it into a text, and wrote, "Plans changed. Rides outside. Send." I blocked her number, her social, her email, everything. Clean cut. No room for explanations, no chance for her to spin it. Then I stood there for a second, phone still in my hand, the apartment completely silent except for the hum of the fridge. That was it. The switch flipped. I walked to the kitchen, cracked open a beer, and turned on the news. Local station. Background noise, really. My focus wasn't on the TV. It was on the clock. 7:23 p.m. Somewhere across town, Jenna was getting into an Uber she didn't call. Somewhere else, Bryant's inbox was lighting up with HR alerts. The first domino had already tipped. I took a long pull from the bottle and sat back on the couch, feeling that strange quiet that comes right before chaos. This wasn't revenge. Not to me. This was logistics. Cause and effect. Two people made choices. I just helped those choices reach the right destination. 7:35 p.m. I refreshed my email. Nothing yet. No bounce back, no error. Everything had gone through clean. 7:43 p.m. My phone started buzzing on the coffee table. Unknown number. I watched it ring for a few seconds, then picked it up. "Hello." There was breathing on the other end. Shaky. "Carter. It's Bryant." His voice was low, like he was hiding somewhere. He whispered, "She's here. At my wife's office." I didn't say anything at first, just leaned back and let that sink in. "She what?" I finally asked. She showed up in the lobby. My wife saw her on the security feed. His voice cracked. "She called me, she's furious." "Carter, what the hell did you do?" I smiled. Not big, just a quiet, tired smile. "Sounds like a delivery error," I said. He was panicking. I could hear footsteps echoing behind him. Maybe a hallway, maybe a stairwell. Please fix this. I can make this right. You don't understand what you've done." "I understand perfectly," I told him. "You underestimated a guy who lives for planning." He didn't answer. "You might want to check your work email," I added. HR should have received something by now. The silence stretched long enough for me to hear his breathing steady, like he was realizing how deep it went. "Bryant," I said finally, "you're both done." Then I hung up. The phone sat there on the table, screen dark, quiet again. I stood up, grabbed a trash bag from under the sink, and headed toward the bedroom closet. It was time to start packing her things. I tossed the first trash bag on the bed and slid open her dresser drawer. Workout leggings, half-worn bras, that stupid girl boss tank top. All of it went in. My phone lit up again. Unknown number. Same one as before. I let it buzz twice, then picked up. "Carter," Bryant hissed, like he was hiding in a damn supply closet. "She's here. At Diana's office." I didn't say anything at first. Just waited. She walked right into the lobby. He went on, voice shaking. "Diana saw her on the building's security feed. Called me screaming. I had to run out of a board meeting to stop her from going up the elevator." He was losing it. I could picture him, sweaty and cornered, trying to control a wildfire he'd been fueling for months. "Carter," he begged. "You need to fix this." I kept folding her clothes, real slow, like I had all night. "Sounds like a delivery error," I said. "What?" "You ordered something that didn't belong to you," I said. "Now it's sitting in your wife's lobby. Wrong address, wrong customer." "Jesus Christ," he whispered. "You don't get it. Diana's not. She's not normal. She has people. Investigators. She knows everyone. If she figures this out." I cut him off. "She will." He went quiet. I could hear a door creak shut in the background, like he was trying to find a quieter place to panic in. "You think this was a one-off?" I asked. "I gave HR everything. Receipts, approvals, forwarded emails. You signed off on stolen charges. You approved fake expenses. Hell, you even used your own name in the comments field." Silence. "Jenna's dumb. But you're arrogant." "Carter," he said, barely audible. "We can work this out. I can fix it. I can tell HR it was a misunderstanding. No, you can't, I said, because they already know it wasn't. You've been bleeding your company dry to play sugar daddy for your junior rep. That ride to your wife's office? That was me doing you a favor. Better she hears it from Jenna's mouth than from a lawsuit. He sighed into the phone, long and heavy. I trusted her, he muttered. I actually laughed. Yeah, so did I. He didn't answer that. I want you to hear this next part real clear, I said. You two thought I was just some basic warehouse guy. Dumb, naive, disposable. But I don't lose track of inventory. Ever. You don't have to ruin us, he said. You made your point. Nah, I said. You ruined yourselves. I just made sure the receipts got delivered. He didn't argue after that. Didn't yell. Just breathed heavy like a man realizing he was already halfway buried. You're both done, I said, and hung up. I tossed the phone face down on the nightstand and yanked open the closet door. Her side was a mess. Half the hangers were empty, probably from all the outfits she kept at Bryant's. I grabbed what was left, slid the whole row off the rail, and dumped them into a new bag. In the back corner sat a stack of shoeboxes. Designer labels. Stuff I'd never seen her wear around me. I opened the top one. Brand new heels with tissue still stuffed inside. Price tag read $1,195. My rent was less than that. I shook my head and kept going. By the time I filled the fifth trash bag, my arms were sore and my throat was dry. I went back to the fridge, grabbed another beer, popped it, and took a long drink. Back in the bedroom, I looked around. Still more to do. Bathroom, office, kitchen drawers. But it was a start. She thought I'd cry. Thought I'd beg. Thought I'd blow up and break things. What she didn't expect was a man who knows how to clear a shelf and move on. One drawer at a time. By the time I finished the bedroom, it was past 1 in the morning. The bags were lined up by the door like evidence waiting to be tagged. I was sitting on the couch with my second beer, half watching an old crime show rerun when the pounding started. It was loud enough to rattle the picture frames. I looked at the clock. 1:32 a.m. Then came the voice. Open the damn door, Carter. Jenna. I took one slow breath and stood up. Didn't rush. She kept shouting, every hit on the door harder than the last. You ruined my life, she screamed. Do you hear me? You ruined everything. I stopped a few feet from the door. Her voice cracked, then sharpened again. Open up, or I swear to God I'll call the cops. I said through the door, calm and even, go ahead. There was a pause. Then she did it. I heard her on the phone, spitting out words fast, telling them I'd locked her out of her home, that I'd stolen her property. I hit record on my phone. She started yelling again, calling me names, saying she'd make sure I paid for this. The recording caught every word. 10 minutes later, the flashing red and blue lights painted the living room walls. I opened the door before they even knocked. 2 officers stood there, both tired, both clearly wishing they were anywhere else. Evening, one said. We got a report about a domestic dispute? I nodded. Yeah, she's outside. Jenna was standing on the sidewalk, barefoot, mascara streaked, pointing like a maniac. That's him. He locked me out of my place. The younger officer turned to me. She says she lives here. She doesn't, I said. Lease is in my name. She moved in with me, never changed it. I reached for the folder on the coffee table and handed over a copy of the lease. Her name's not anywhere on it. They looked it over, then back at me. She says you took her belongings. I stepped aside and pointed to the bags. Everything she owns is packed and ready to go. You can check. The older officer's eyes narrowed. Mind explaining what led to this? She threatened me. I said simply, verbally. I have the recording. Played it. Her voice filled the room. Clear, angry, loud. You'll regret this, Carter. You're dead to me, you hear me? I'll ruin you. The room changed. The cops exchanged looks. When the recording ended, the older one turned toward the door and motioned for her to come in. She stepped in hesitantly, clutching her phone, still shaking. Ma'am, he said, he's on the lease. He's packed your things. There's no evidence of assault or theft. We can't make him let you stay. She blinked, lips trembling. He set me up. You don't understand. Ma'am, the younger cop interrupted. We're not mediators. You can take your property and leave, or we'll file this as a trespassing warning. That hit her hard. She stared at me with this twisted mix of hate and disbelief. Then she started crying, loud, messy, but not convincing. You'll regret this, she said again, quieter now. You think you're clever, Carter. You have no idea who you're dealing with. Yeah, I said. I do. She tried one last glare before storming out. The cops followed her to make sure she left the property. When the lights faded down the street, I went to the window. She was still out there on the sidewalk, pacing, phone in hand, screaming into the night. Then she got into a rideshare and disappeared. I stood there for a while, watching the tail lights fade, until all that was left was silence. I'd barely gotten 2 hours of sleep when the phone rang again. Private number. I answered anyway, already expecting drama. Carter? This is Brenda, Jenna's mother. I rubbed my eyes. Yeah, I figured. Her voice was cold, clipped. She's devastated, absolutely heartbroken. I don't know what happened between you two, but whatever it is, you didn't have to humiliate her like that. She humiliated herself, I said. I just sent the receipts. She gave a bitter laugh. Receipts? What, because she had a career? Because she was finally doing well for herself? I stood up, walked into the kitchen, and put the phone on speaker while I poured coffee. Brenda, she committed fraud. She was expensing luxury dinners, spa trips, designer clothes, on her company's dime. I have the forwarded emails and approvals. Your daughter wasn't hustling. She was stealing. That's ridiculous. Jenna has always been driven. Bryant believed in her when no one else did. Yeah, he believed in her so much he signed off on $1,200 shoes and a couple's massage at the Four Seasons. She didn't speak for a second. Then, in the fakest, most patronizing tone I've ever heard, she said, You always had trouble handling her ambition. That's what this is really about, isn't it? You felt small. She outgrew you. I let that hang for a beat. Then I spoke slowly. There's an internal audit happening right now. I sent every file to her company's HR and finance teams. If you think I'm the problem, you're welcome to take it up with their legal department. Silence again. She can pick up her things Saturday. I packed everything. I'll schedule a civil standby so there's no more screaming on my porch. Brenda sniffed. I think we'll be bringing a lawyer. Bring whoever you want, I said, and hung up. I finished my coffee, opened the closet, and started packing what was left. 14 boxes, 8 bags. Every drawer, shelf, closet corner emptied and organized. I labeled each one by room and item type: bathroom hair/makeup, bedroom issues, office miscellaneous. Every item logged in a spreadsheet. Photos, too. She wasn't gonna claim I stole a damn thing. While I was boxing up her office stuff, I found the car paperwork. The lease for that white Audi A5 she just had to have last spring. I was the co-signer. Out of curiosity, I logged into the finance portal. My jaw clenched. 3 missed payments. She hadn't told me. Not once. Her name was listed first, but mine was right there underneath, responsible if she flaked. I called the loan office, explained the situation. Then I looked up a local repo company and scheduled a pickup for Thursday afternoon. Told them exactly where she worked. Even gave them the garage code she used. They were happy to oblige. By evening, my apartment looked clean again. Bare, but peaceful. The bags were stacked by the door. The boxes lined up against the wall like a shipment waiting for dispatch. I sat on the couch and opened her laptop, the one she left behind. I didn't touch anything inside. Just powered it down and placed it in a separate bag labeled electronics. Not my mess to dig through anymore. I sent a quick message to the property manager asking to schedule a key change the following week. Then I set a calendar reminder for Saturday. Pickup day, 10:30 a.m. Civil standby booked. After that, I closed my laptop, opened a beer, and sat in silence for a while. I didn't feel sorry, just done. Saturday hit like clockwork. 10:30 on the dot. The knock came. I opened the door and there she was. Full dramatic entrance. Hair curled, black shades, arms crossed like she was stepping onto a courtroom set. Behind her, Brenda, stone-faced and overdressed. And Frank, the dad I'd barely met more than twice. Hanging back with his arms folded, eyes scanning everything like he was there to appraise the furniture. The civil standby officer stood next to them, hand on his belt, clearly already sick of the tension. "You Carter?" he asked. "Yep, everything's ready." I stepped aside and let them in. Jenna walked in like she still lived here, head high, chin up. Brenda followed, already looking around like she was hunting for a reason to start a fight. Frank said nothing, just kept his jaw tight. I pointed toward the wall. "Boxes are labeled by room. Bags are along the far side. Nothing's missing." Jenna glanced over her shoulder. "Where's the blender?" she asked. "In the box labeled kitchen appliances. Third one down." I didn't even flinch. Brenda rolled her eyes. "And the wall mirror from the hallway?" "Back of the bedroom miscellaneous box. Wrapped in towels. Didn't want it to break." They started digging through the boxes like TSA agents, muttering between themselves, checking tags like I'd switched out her crap with decoys. Jenna stopped mid-rummage. "Where's my work laptop?" I leaned on the kitchen counter. "You didn't leave it here." "Yes, I did," she snapped. "It was on the desk." I shook my head. "Nope. You took it with you the night you left for your campaign meeting. Haven't seen it since." Her jaw clenched. "You went through it. You took company files." I looked at the officer, then back at her. "You left your email open on the family desktop. You forwarded the files to yourself." "I didn't hack anything, Jenna. You handed it to me on a silver platter." Brenda stepped in. "You admit to accessing her private emails?" I turned to the officer. "She left them open. On my shared computer. In my house. With my internet." Jenna's voice cracked. "You stole company data, Carter. You're gonna get sued. You should probably focus on your own legal situation," I said. "From what I hear, HR and finance are already involved. Oh, and Diana. Can't forget Diana." She stepped back like I'd slapped her. Brenda looked between us like she was starting to piece things together. Then she turned to Jenna. "Is any of this true?" "Mom," Jenna snapped. "He's twisting everything. You don't know what he—" "I know what I'm hearing," Brenda said. Her voice was smaller now. Frank hadn't said a word. He just looked around the apartment, then back at his daughter like he'd never actually seen her before. I crossed my arms. "You good with what's here? Anything missing?" Jenna's face was pale. "I'm not done with you. You think this is over?" I didn't respond, just nodded to the officer. "We're done here." He looked at them. "All right, let's start loading it up. Time's limited." Brenda started pulling boxes toward the door without another word. Frank joined, silent. No eye contact. No fake politeness. Jenna didn't move at first, just stood in the center of the living room like she was trying to summon some last bit of control. Then she hissed, "This isn't over, Carter." I smiled, just a little. "Yeah, it is." They carried everything out in under 20 minutes. No shouting, no more accusations. Just that same stiff silence that follows when everyone knows how bad someone messed up but won't say it out loud. When the last box was gone, I closed the door without saying goodbye. The lock clicked louder than usual. I left the chain hanging. Then I turned around and exhaled like I'd been holding my breath for 2 years. Exactly 1 week later, I got a letter in the mail, thick envelope, heavy stock, return address from a law office I didn't recognize. Inside, a formal demand from Jenna's attorney. 12 pages of complete garbage. They were requesting $13,500 for emotional distress, lost personal items, and rent overages. Rent overages. In my condo. I scanned the whole thing, looking for anything that might be remotely legit. Most of it was just padded legal fluff. Things like psychological hardship, interrupted professional momentum, and reputational damage. Then I hit the last line. She wanted me to return a painting. That hideous, smeared mess of reds and purples she hung in the dining area a year ago. Said it was a gallery piece from a local emerging artist. Honestly, I always thought it looked like something a toddler made during a tantrum. I walked over to it, lifted it off the hook, and flipped it around. Bottom right corner, metal tag, polished, clear as day. Property of Bryant Walker Executive Art Loan Program. Walker and Hale Tech Ventures. I laughed. Hard. Just stood there, painting in hand, laughing like someone finally hit the punchline to a really long joke. She just demanded I return stolen corporate property. In writing, through a lawyer. And that tag was gold. I snapped a few photos, front, back, the tag up close. Then I pulled up my email. To HR at her company. CC. Diana Hale, Carver and Langston LLP. Subject line, regarding executive art asset, improper use. The email was short, polite, included the photos and a note that the item appeared to be corporate property brought into a non-office residence, possibly without authorization. I said I'd be happy to release it to the rightful owner. Didn't even have to wait long. 3 hours later, I got a reply from Diana's paralegal. They thanked me for the documentation and said they were coordinating retrieval of company assets in cooperation with relevant parties. That was lawyer speak for, we're already on this, and it's worse than you think. I wrapped the painting in bubble wrap and boxed it like I was shipping glass. Taped the outside, wrote fragile in red across the top, and set it in the hallway closet for pickup. Felt weird, honestly, like I was cleaning up after someone else's embezzlement scheme. I skimmed Jenna's demand letter one more time before tossing it in the shredder. She wanted a cash payout, the return of stolen goods, and sympathy for the fallout she caused. And she had the nerve to act like I was the villain. Nah, this was what accountability looked like. 2 months went by. The condo stayed quiet, clean. No screaming matches, no wine glasses on the floor, no perfume stinking up the hallway. Then one Tuesday morning, a paralegal from Carver and Langston showed up at my door. Buttoned up, professional. Didn't even flinch at the bubble-wrapped disaster she was picking up. Signed a document, thanked me for cooperating, and left with the box. Didn't seem like a big deal. But the next email wasn't polite. Diana's firm was officially pressing charges. Apparently, that ugly painting wasn't just some basic loan piece from a side program. It was part of a corporate-sponsored executive art rotation. Tagged, insured, and valued at over 20 grand. That got the wheels moving fast. First, Jenna's lawyer vanished. Like gone. Email dead. Phone disconnected. Either he realized what mess he'd stepped into or she stopped paying him. Probably both. I consulted a real attorney, guy named Simmons. Straight shooter. I gave him the documents, the screenshots, the demand letter, even the photo of the tag. He read through it all, leaned back and said, "1 letter. That's all it'll take." He drafted it, sent it. End of story. I never heard another peep from Jenna's side. I thought it was over. Then my phone rang. Blocked number. I answered. "Carter," the voice said. It was Bryant. I almost laughed. It had been weeks. I figured he'd already disappeared into whatever swamp corporate fraud guys crawl into. But no, he sounded panicked. Sweaty. Like he hadn't slept in days. "I need to talk to you," he said. "Please. Just listen for a second." I didn't say anything. "They're investigating me," he said. "Diana's firm. My company. The board. Everyone." I stayed quiet. Let him spiral. "They think I stole from the art program. They think I was manipulating Jenna. They think I knew what she was doing. Couldn't help it." "Didn't you?" "I didn't authorize everything," he said. "Not directly. She did some of it on her own. But look, Carter. Listen, I can make this go away." I leaned against the counter, beer in hand. "Go on. I can send you 15,000. Cash. Right now. I'll Venmo half and wire the rest. All I need is a statement. Just a written note saying you fabricated the emails. That none of it was real. That you made it up to get back at her." I actually laughed. "You're trying to pay me off." with money you probably don't even have access to anymore. Don't be stupid, he snapped. This isn't about pride. You're not a hero here. You're just a guy with receipts. Exactly, I said. I'm not a liar. I'm a logistics guy. You hung yourself with receipts. I just filed them. He went silent. That deep, stunned kind of silence when a man realizes the deal's dead and he's got nothing left to bargain with. Then he said, "You're making a huge mistake." I finished the last sip of beer. "No, you did. 2 months ago." Then I hung up for the last time. Didn't save his number. Didn't block it. Just didn't care anymore. He was already circling the drain. The next day, I checked the news alerts. Bryant was officially done. Fired. Divorced. Some buzz about criminal charges still under internal review. Translation: lawyers were circling like sharks. Diana filed the separation papers fast. I heard she froze the accounts, sold off their cabin in Michigan, and blocked him from seeing the kids. As for Jenna, she got canned the same week the audit wrapped. The company didn't even list her in the former employees memo. They just pulled her from the directory and wiped her profile. She went home to her parents in Gahanna. I know because Frank texted me a week later, "We've got the boxes. Don't contact her again." I never replied. The condo was quiet again. My name on the deed, no clutter, no drama. The desk was clean. The fridge actually had space. And her mess of jewelry and charger cords were gone from every surface. The painting? Gone too. Filed away as corporate evidence, just like I promised. The Audi got repossessed and sold. The balance left on the loan? I paid it with savings and closed that chapter for good. Her lawsuit never showed up. The demand letter was the last gasp. After that, nothing. Her threats? All noise. No follow-through. Last weekend, I drove out to a little local shop in Clintonville and picked up something for the empty wall in the dining room. Simple piece, black and white photo of a steel bridge. Clean lines. Straightforward. No fake meaning behind it. $200. Frame included. I've got the receipt. Filed in a folder. Labeled and dated. I'm not angry. Not anymore. Just done. I thought I loved her. I really did. But looking back, I was just a placeholder. A steady guy who paid the bills, kept quiet, didn't ask too many questions. She underestimated me. They both did. Now, I don't wait for the next text. I don't second-guess what's real. I don't worry who's lying right to my face. I open the fridge, grab a beer, flip on the TV, and cue up a show I actually want to watch. No drama. No distractions. Just the low hum of peace and the sound of a man who finally reset the system on his own terms.